Good evening. I'm Stan Prater, Chairman of the Board of Directors for the African American Chamber of New Jersey, and welcome to our year-end virtual meeting. 2020 has been a challenging year for the world, the nation, state, and chamber. And on the heels of the COVID-19 pandemic, racial injustice, inequity, and systemic racism, the Chamber was able to pivot under a new normal and provide a platform of virtual services, resources, opportunities, and information to our members via webinars, technical assistance programs, networking events, and highlighting our members by spotlighting them on the website and interviewing them on our Empowerment Hour, radio, and cable TV shows. The staff was able to provide opportunities and services in a consistent and efficient way that allowed us to grow our members to over 100 members in 2020, and they are to be commended for their efforts. We were able to raise our visibility, relevance, awareness during these turbulent times by making connections, partnerships, and allies. Our President and CEO, John Harmon, received many requests for assistance and guidance from CEOs in the private sector, local and state politicians, and regional and state and national chambers to get involved with creating a level playing field for African Americans with corporate board placement, job opportunities, referring individuals for senior level management positions, supplier diversity, criminal justice reform, and education. Also, the door was open for small business loans and state and federal grants that were closed before the pandemic and social unrest. Through John's leadership, support of the staff, and the directors, he was named the #1 person of color in the state of New Jersey by ROI. And we're proud of him for this honor because we know how hard he works for his members, for the chamber, to be the vanguard and advocate for over 1.1 million African American residents and 80,000 businesses in New Jersey. Also, we approach the end of 2020. We have accomplished much, but we know that there's still much to do because Black lives do matter. Therefore, we plan to stay on the battlefield and fight for the small business owner in need of capital to survive, technical assistance to be competitive, and certification to be approved. We will continue to blow the trumpet for African Americans to get more business contracts, supplier diversity opportunities, and to close the digital divide in education, and get more board members appointed to these corporate boards and in C-suite positions to create equity and a level playing field in the state of New Jersey. I encourage you to join us in this battle. And in closing, on behalf of my fellow board members and directors, President and CEO John Harmon, chamber members, thank you for your support, attendance, and participation in 2020. And we look forward to partnering with you in 2021. God bless you and your families during this holiday season, and enjoy the program and have a great evening.
Hello and welcome. I'm John Harmon. I'm the founder, president, and CEO of the African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey, and just want to welcome you all to our annual year-end event. This is a closeout of 2020, and we've had an amazing year. And before we get into the program, I just want to thank a number of people. I must always start with our board of directors. I want to thank our amazing staff. I want to thank each and every member, each and every sponsor for just making this all possible. Each year, we recap what we've done in the preceding year. In this case, 2020. We're going to talk about the many activities that we're involved in. We're going to talk about the things that we feel that we were recognized for. In other words, our accomplishments. And then you're gonna hear a little presentation from me that will give you a little more detail on what we did in 2020, and then a little forecast of what you can expect from us in the coming year. Also, you'll hear from Nielsen, and Nielsen is here with us every year to help us close out the year, but they'll talk about the relevance of Black people from a consumer spending perspective. You know, our text messaging, our viewership on TV shows, what products we buy. And the resulting end of the products we buy, it benefits corporations in terms of their stock price, their profitability. And also, it leads to wealth creation for those who are connected with those enterprises. And it's our hope that we, through that exchange, could get some equitable benefit from our consumer spend, to grow our businesses, to improve the growth and sustainability of households, not only in New Jersey, but across America for Black people. This has to be about a win-win for both sides. We spend over $1.4 trillion annually in the U.S. economy. And so that should be some reciprocity. Something should come back to make the standard of living for Black people in America better. The African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey serves as the vanguard for 1.1 million Black residents in the state of New Jersey on issues of health, education, workforce, and business. In addition, we work hard as a staunch advocate for the over 80,000 Black businesses in our state, connecting them with corporations, connecting them with state, municipal, county government, so that our members can present their products or services. That's the exchange that makes capitalism work not only in the United States, but in America. And so that's what tonight is all about. The sharing of information, sharing of our success, sharing of the mission of the African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey and what its members and our mission means to the state of New Jersey and America. So following this opening, I'll give a brief presentation on more specifics as it relates to activities that we were involved in throughout 2020. And then following me will be Cheryl Grace. She's Senior Vice President with Nielsen, and she'll give a detailed presentation, a very comprehensive presentation on what Black consumers are using their hard-earned dollars to buy in the marketplace every day. So we'll be back in a minute. After this, I'll do the presentation, and then Cheryl Grace will give you some very important information from Nielsen. Thank you.
empty park that normally would be filled with people playing sports. A sign of the times for the state of New Jersey going into week 3 of statewide lockdown.
The disease has taken service members, first responders, coaches, loved ones, many friends, and too many New Jerseyans, and sadly, we know that this number will grow. Stay at home before this hits home.
Going out with a bang.
The 9th night of protests across this country demanding change after the death of George Floyd. And tonight, the major news here, all 4 former police officers involved have now been charged in his death. Derek Chauvin, his knee on Floyd's neck for nearly 9 minutes. Charges against him now upgraded from 3rd to 2nd degree murder. Thousands are marching in the streets. This is from New York City. Also gathering not far from the White House. On the move in Detroit tonight and in Los Angeles, massive crowds gathering again, demanding justice.
Anarchists linked to Antifa came in for particular criticism.
There is a huge separation from the antagonizers and the protesters, and you are being watched. You are racist. They are giving a speech about black lives, but yeah, you want to destroy on behalf of black lives, and now one person over there is black.
And New Jersey has reached a 7-month high in new COVID cases after already being hit hard in the beginning of the pandemic. Yesterday, Governor Phil Murphy announced new restrictions on indoor dining and sports games set to take effect this week.
This is Black Business Month. This is a time for us to really look at the people that build America. And moreover, how can we have more deliberate investment in the community to help those who are hard to employ, those who need more development and training as it relates to growing their businesses and positioning their businesses for success.
I call this period of time the Great White Awakening. And I think there's an incredible opportunity for us to drive real and meaningful and lasting change in the world. And that's very inspiring. You know, I'm very fortunate to work in a very diverse business. Our management team is very diverse. And so we have this special opportunity at a time where we're seeing 40 million people claim unemployment, murders of unarmed and unwarranted black men, and a global pandemic. And all these things are coming together and in a strange way, providing us the greatest opportunity we've had in our lifetimes to drive change. Unfortunately, my business has effectively gone to zero. We're roughly a $500 million top line business, give or take 100 million, depending on the year. And that's essentially evaporated. We do have a vision and mission to leave the world a better place where we live, work, and play, and spend quite a bit of time leveraging everything from our social media to our incredible and world-class athletes to the platform we have across various mediums to drive change.
You already were nice to mention, we need to get rid of the term supplier diversity. Supplier diversity is like 40 years out of date. We all know our economy has become a professional services, financial services, and technology-based economy. Now, we value all the opportunities we get. It's important to get construction contracts. It's important to get catering contracts, janitorial services. But the real wealth today is on Wall Street and Silicon Valley. JP Morgan Chase, KPMG, Jones Lang LaSalle, Apple, Facebook. We want to have an opportunity to participate in the part of the economy where the wealth's being created today.
This year, more than ever, community focus is critical as we have all been impacted by the pandemic, protests, and politics. This is why not only is supplier diversity critical, but diversity is critical. The Chamber has been instrumental in our success and has also provided an opportunity for us to support other businesses so they may realize those same successes.
I firmly believe that each of us has a responsibility to pave the way for the person or the team that surrounds us. We also have a responsibility to pave the way for those who will follow in our footsteps long after we have moved on. Simply put, we have a responsibility to teach, to develop, to inspire, and to mentor others.
We have, external changes that happen all the time, in our work, in our job, in our leadership positions. And so our ability to be able to navigate through those changes and be flexible, in addition to having some adaptability, so that we can adapt to the changing circumstances. That's who's going to last, and that's going to be the person standing after all of this is over.
As a member of the chamber, I would encourage every business owner to become a member of the African American Chamber. I would encourage anyone seeking to engage in, investing in a community, use your buying power for good. That's where those numbers start to change. And we feel as though the African American Chamber is probably more so now, but it was already very important pre-Floyd, pre-pandemic. But it is even more important that if you really want to sort of walk the walk and not just talk the talk, you have to invest in those economic infrastructures that matter. And I would say that the African American Chamber should be everywhere in this country, and that we all should be focused as one in ensuring that if you're going to start spending money in a community, run your finger down that list to see who's a member of that community. Where can you do business with someone who's a member of the African American Chamber? I know that's what we do now. And I think that's more of walking the walk and putting your money where your mouth is. So I think it's transformational.
I'm on the board of directors of Nike, the University of Chicago, McDonald's, and the New York Times. And we're working hard on that term that you've suggested to try to get all these institutions that we're on the boards of to do business with Black businesses in everything we do, and really give us equal opportunity in the spirit of what Harold Washington and Maynard Jackson and others fought for.
And that there is a process for success. And when you understand it, you're able to understand how to take information and education. You understand the value of knowledge and information, and how to take that knowledge and information and apply it to your life in the 24 hours that you have every single day. So you could actually move from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset.
It's good to be here and speak to you this afternoon and speak to the African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey, and to discuss where Black America and where Black New Jersey is today. Now, we know that as a result of COVID-19, our community has confronted greater obstacles than the rest of this country. We also know that the current discussions and the current protest of African American opportunities have raised a heightened awareness as to the challenges that we confront in our everyday life. While there are difficult times ahead of us, and we have experienced difficult times, I'm a big believer now that we're in a moment of great opportunity. For the first time since the civil rights movement of the 1960s, our agenda is at the forefront of discussions both politically and economically, not only in America, but globally.
It is my hope today that we begin to inspire the generation coming behind us and help them understand that in New Jersey, we are competitive, but we need to be even more competitive, and we can become competitive as a state if all of our human collateral, all of our resources are brought together. We're in a season now with the pandemic and the pandemonium that has come from the protests. We are in a season now where you and I have the opportunity to focus in on not destruction, but perhaps deconstructing some systems that have not been working well for all citizens, and tactfully, strategically, with wisdom, reconstruct those systems that will work for everyone in our state and all of us that live in this nation.
This year's conference theme, Seize the Moment, is particularly apropos given the current climate in our country. I've known John Harmon for many years and have big respect for the work that he has done to advance the mission and the vision of the Chamber. Under his leadership, his team has taken the Chamber to new heights, and I want to congratulate the African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey and the board on receiving a 3-star accreditation from the United States Chamber of Commerce. The accreditation acknowledges that the Chamber has sound policies, effective organizational procedures, and has had a positive impact on the community.
Five. Live.
I'm John Harmon, the founder, president, and CEO of the African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey, and just extremely delighted to have you all here with us this evening. And I'll take a few moments to just do a brief recap of 2020, and then slowly transition into what's ahead in the coming year. This has been a rather tumultuous time for many of us, but nonetheless, as Don Peoples has stated in his presentation, we see a number of opportunities that we are positioning our members for to take full advantage. New Jersey is a great place to live and work, and has some amazing people here that are working daily to make a difference. And we're just honored to be a part of that equation, if you will. So whenever you're ready, we'll get going, dear. So Cheryl will be joining us a little later on today, but I wanted to start off by just thanking our chairman, Stan Prater, who's doing a phenomenal job here and has opened up today's program, just sharing his thoughts about the organization. Our board of directors provide tremendous oversight and guidance, and our success truly is made possible by the amazing people that come to work day in and day out, committed to providing value. It was said in the presentation by the chairman, we serve as the vanguard. We go out there day in and day out to really set the landscape, if you will, as an advocate for 1.1 million residents here in the state, Black residents that is, and then over 80,000 businesses. We can't wait until the final census is concluded, because we know that number of 80,000 is relatively short. Moreover, we have a national voice working with many of our national partners, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the National Black Chamber of Commerce, and others. We're the only accredited chamber here in the state of New Jersey. There's over 141 chambers that is accredited with the U.S. Chamber, and probably the only African American chamber whose mission is about African Americans in the country with the U.S. Chamber. So advocacy is about, as I said, to influence the atmosphere that will for more of our members access to opportunity. And coming into 2020, we were very excited at the heels of our annual Black History Circle of Achievement Awards Gala. After that, we were just poised to just knock the cover off the ball. And then March came, and then slowly the pandemic started to creep into the economy here in the United States, and caught many of us flat-footed, if you will, and resulted in a lot of loss of lives and health and disruption of households and industry in a way that has been rather shocking, to say the least. But anyone that is in business, you have to have a certain level of resiliency. And for many businesses and households, including the African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey, we had to pivot and go from a business model that typically is a lot of interaction, a business model with a lot of networking and pressing flesh and passing business cards and getting to know people. A lot of lunches and dinners, and people talk about putting on weight during this whole COVID-19 environment. I'm sure we did a lot of that in a normal chamber environment, but we had to pivot and establish a virtual platform in which we're communicating tonight. And the irony with these virtual platforms is one subject to the whims of a virtual platform, but nonetheless, be so ever ready. So this year, we did everything virtually. And all our networking events, all our meetings, and so on and so forth. And as a result, we were able to continue to grow and sustain our memberships. I think our engagements are even more substantive, if you will, because we're talking directly to decision makers. And oftentimes there's a process to get to the top of the food chain, to the man or woman that ultimately is calling the shots. And so we were fortunate enough where we were able to, in this new environment, have many of those conversations initially, which is something that is, one, refreshing, but also a foundation that we could all build upon as we proceed into the coming months. And hopefully this engagement is sustained, so we can say into the coming years. So the advocacy is an area that we focus on. Public policy. We have a great relationship with Governor Murphy here and his administration. Working very closely with him. And a lot of legislators on both sides of the aisle we work very closely with. Board of directors, as you can see, a rather diverse group of men and women. We have a foundation board as well. And let's keep it going. The foundation board, let's hold it right there a second. The foundation board is really, typically when you hear the term foundation board, you think about fundraising. Yeah, that's in part, but our foundation board's focus is on, as John Rogers said, business diversity, building those relationships with corporations and large businesses across the state to really serve as a way to help them not only become a member of the chamber, but their corporate citizen investment, how we can have that targeted programming that's going to make a more positive impact on the New Jersey's economy so that it'd be more competitive to inclusiveness. Next. This is our staff. I talked about the amazing staff, and it has grown over the years. And in 2021, we're going to expand, and I'll talk a little later on about some other areas that we'll be involved in next. This is a quick snapshot of a part of the team. And Carmen Gates is a recent addition to the team, so she's not in the photo, but Carmen, we didn't forget you. And Zenobia and May, those are the youngest of the team. They're not there as well, so we'll try to hear from them later. Next. President's Club. This is a diverse group of businesses. A lot of our corporations here and some of our larger businesses are here. And so we're just pleased with this continued growth and expansion. This is, I work with this group directly. We set an agenda, we execute the agenda, and it's growing because they're getting good value. Next. I mentioned earlier about the National Black Chamber, the U.S. Chamber. Our mission is all about economic empowerment and sustaining communities through entrepreneurship and capitalistic activities, not only in New Jersey, but across the state. Next, resources, opportunities, and information. That's what it's all about, ROI, and we try day in and day out to connect our members to that axis where resources and opportunities are traveling. The Black community, long and short of it, are traveling on one axis, and where the resources and opportunities are traveling is on an axis that's running parallel. Our goal is to make sure through our mission that those two axes intersect, and that's where the engagement and the value proposition is realized. Next. Small businesses, corporations, and government, we work with each and every one of them every day to ensure that our voice, our mission, our value proposition is a part of New Jersey's economy. Next. So businesses join the African American Chamber of Commerce for a number of reasons: the advocacy, the networking, the connections, access to resources, opportunities, our support in the community. So there's many ways that you can get involved. You look to the next slide. We're going to start moving through these a little quick, a number of them to get through. But, we have committees. If you become a member of the chamber, hey, there's a place that you could add value and get some reciprocity for your investment through various committees that we have here within the organization. A radio show. We're the only chamber that I know in New Jersey that has its own radio show. And upcoming guests will include the co-CEO of Aero Investments, Melanie Hobson, and our good friend, Ms. Rivers from Philly Dickinson University, alma mater. The show airs every Monday from 5 to 6 p.m. On 920 ESPN. New Jersey, and it's sponsored by Wells Fargo and Horizon, Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And of course, if you choose to have an interest in sponsoring, clearly there's more room for you, and we can have your name placed right on this program as quick as tomorrow. So just let us know. Next, clearly a great marketing opportunity. We have a television show as well. Pathway to Success. It airs every first Saturday of the month on NJTV. We were recently picked up by I'm drawing the blank, PBS. About 30 million viewers now. Upcoming guest Monique Nielsen, Chair and CEO of Uniworld Group, and the Honorable Ras Baraka is going to kick us off at the beginning of the year. Pathway to Success. Next. Access to government. We talked a little bit about relationships. We believe not only we're your pathway to success, but we're your partner for success. And being able to connect with all these sectors of our economy could be of a benefit. If you're in business, if you're a resident of the state, or if you're a corporation or a small business, we are here to help facilitate that in any way we possibly can. Next. There's tons of chamber associations and chambers and business associations, corporations, as well as financial services institutions. These are all our partners. We have relationships with all these folks. These are just names on the screen, but these are real partners. And I want to thank John McWeeny of the New Jersey Bankers for really helping us expand the number of financial services institutions that are part of this chamber during this kind of tumultuous year. It has really, really made the difference. And I know the chairman said that we've added 100 members today. I'm here to report as of earlier today, we're over 120 new members for the year. In a COVID-19, George Floyd, unrest environment, we just thank everybody for giving us an opportunity to contribute to their success. And moreover, thank the staff for providing that 5-star service today. Next. Educational institutions, community partners, government, so on and so forth. We got a lot of friends out there. Next. media partners, initiatives. You know, I just want to point out a couple of initiatives I think are important. Senator Panacio sponsored S300. It's all about public spend, letting folks know where your public dollars are being spent. Working very closely with a number of legislators on Senate Bill 111 in New Jersey, which I think is so ridiculous, is one state in the country that in order to get auto insurance, they do a credit score, education, occupation as proxy. It has nothing to do with your driving record. So I would encourage you to reach out to your local legislature and let them know that you support this bill and that we need this change in New Jersey right away. We own our own building, staff just under 10 folks here. And as I said, we're going to be adding a few more folks very soon. Number of healthcare relationships. Next. Move this thing along. Talk about the President's Club members next. Very impressive. Technical assistance, working very closely with the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. We have a bonding program. We've been doing that for now. Going on our third year, down to about $20 million in bonding the small businesses. Work with the EDA on the Paycheck Protection Program. Wells Fargo has put resources here as well, and AACCNJ to help us do a number of programs to help small businesses. The Department of Labor with our skills development program, we've done several hundreds of thousands of dollars of training made possible with taxpayer dollars, and continue to work with the Murphy administration and others to clearly continue to support businesses. I mean, the businesses are still hurting. There's still a lot of resources that are needed. And so we must continue to advocate for resources, not only businesses, but for families. Next. Events. And no one can party like the African American Chamber of Commerce in New Jersey. All our parties are with a purpose. This is a calendar of annual events, from awards events to advocacy events like State of Black New Jersey, our Golf Classic, our Leadership Awards, and a number of health and community forums, banking as well. All these things we do to provide value, underscore the relevance of the chamber. Next. We got a couple more minutes here before I can introduce our special guest tonight. Next. Golf is always one of my favorite pastimes. Facing side effects, handsome legs. Next. Had a great golf event. And this year we talked about the injustices in society, did a mural in front of the building, and it was very well attended. And we just got to build from here, ladies and gentlemen. We're always better together. Next. Monthly events, AACCNJ.com for additional information. Next. A coding program, first book program we've done since 2014, over 500,000 books to young kids. Our leadership program, ex-offender programming. As I said, we're committed to the 1.1 Blacks in New Jersey and positioning them so that they can have a better life and enjoy more of the prosperity of our state. Next. Coding, Bristol Myers Squibb is our partner there. Next. A leadership program. Jacqueline, you should have been smiling in that picture. Some amazing young people. We have a great time once a month with these young people. Next. Yes. This is some of the best time I had as a president of an organization, interacting with these young people. Next. We talked about the Department of Labor programs and so on and so forth. In the interest of time, Nicole, we can kind of bring this in. I'll make a couple more points and we'll transition into our guests. Talked about the members from all areas of industries. And you don't have to be an African American to be a member of the African American Chamber of Commerce in New Jersey. Over 30% of our members are non-African American. This is all about value. It's all about business. And recently, I was placed on the board of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the largest business federation in the world, and really look forward to leveraging that relationship to provide more value to our members and businesses in the state and all our partners that interact with the Chamber. Next. Is it showtime? A gala is coming up February 11th. Please, it's going to be virtual this year. So join us. Put on your black tie, your gown, and tune in February 11th from 6 to 8 p.m. Next. Honorees to be announced. Talked about this earlier. And thank all those sponsors and who made donations to the program tonight when it's virtual. Of course, you got to pivot and try to make it work, but these folks were very generous and donated to make sure that the program was a success. Though it's virtual, you still have expenditures. Thank our sponsors. And next. Yeah, in 2021, we're going to continue to be a strong advocate for public policy. We talked about the project labor agreement. That's something that we need to raise the threshold, the auto insurance, reporting on consumer spend. And we thank you all for our new members. And let me just take a moment here to introduce our special guest. And I will be back with some closing remarks after Ms. Cheryl Grace. Cheryl Grace is the Senior Vice President of U.S. Strategic Community Alliances and Consumer Engagement for Nielsen. She is the visionary behind Nielsen's award-winning African American Consumer Report, which led to the company's historic creation of Nielsen's Diverse Intelligence Series, a portfolio of comprehensive reports which focuses on diverse consumers. Named one of Black Enterprise's top 50 powerful women in business, Cheryl has been recognized with numerous awards and honors, and she is highly sought after. She's a thought leader, and we're just honored to have her tonight. And thank Don Lowry for being with us over the years. And tonight, we're going to have Cheryl Grace make a presentation on behalf of Nielsen. And please, pay close attention to this very, very important information. Thank you so much for your indulgence, and we love you.
Live. Live.
She's live.
Live.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cheryl Grace, and I am coming to you live from Michigan. But I am so happy to join you. I hope you all are doing well in New Jersey. I am going to talk to you today about the power of the Black community from moment to movement. And I think I was introduced a little bit earlier that I'm from Nielsen, so I'm going to be sharing you some insights that we actually share with our larger clients. For example, we'll be sharing some of these same slides with Coca-Cola tomorrow. And I'm hopeful that you as small business owners will also find the information very informative for you as well. So if we shall begin, I want to start by saying that Nielsen has developed these series of reports. We call them our Diverse Intelligence Series, and we release them annually at different times throughout the year. And the focus is actually on each ethnic community that you see here. So Asian American consumers, we released that report in May, and then the Hispanic communities report comes out generally in July, and the African American consumer report, which we're going to be talking through today, comes out during the months of September or October. You can download these reports absolutely for free at Nielsen.com. That's Nielsen.com. All of the information that I'm pulling from today, you can find in the African American Consumer Report, Power of the Black Community from Moment to Movement. You can find it all there. The slides won't be available, but again, all of the information is in the report. And I think you're going to find we've got so many other insights included in the report. You're going to really find it helpful with your business efforts. So let's talk about why Nielsen thinks it's really important for us to present to chambers such as yours out in New Jersey. We love to talk to groups because Nielsen recognizes that it's important to the US economy. Businesses are. And so we did a study back in July, so right smack dab in the middle of COVID, where we talked to participants, and they told us that they are 70% are more likely to shop as small businesses in their local communities now than they did before the coronavirus. So before COVID, we didn't have 70%, but now because people are concerned about wanting to support small businesses during these tough financial times, that's why 65% of those surveyed said that they are turning to small businesses. And 57% said that they're turning to small businesses because the businesses are located close to home or in their neighborhoods. And as we know, staying close to home has been really very important during COVID. And then 48% said because the staff tends to be very friendly and helpful, and that's what they are really looking for right now during these trying times. So we know that you're important, and as a result of that, we want to make sure that you are armed to do business just as the larger corporations are. We also have made a commitment to ensure that you have information and resources at your fingertips that we think that you may find helpful. And so you should find this link being shared here, www.nielsen.com/US/EN/small business support. If you make note of this link, it will take you to the business resource site that we've set up specifically just to help small businesses, because we recognize that you need all the resources that you can get at this point in order to thrive and not just survive. So please note that the important work that Nielsen is doing and what we're sharing here with you isn't limited just to these trying times, but also this site will continue to be updated with the needs that we think you might find helpful for your businesses. So please, you all, check out this site when you have an opportunity. Okay, so let's take a look at the demographics of the African American population. We're going to start with the buying power. So right now, as of 2020, we currently have a buying power of $1.4 trillion. Now, when I started doing these reports back in 2011, we had a buying power as African Americans at about $971 billion. And so we've grown significantly over the course of the last 10 years. And what this chart actually shows you is it also gives you a look at how the Blacks' buying powers are divided up by states. And I'm going to also be looking at my notes off to the side, just because I want to make sure I can read all of the small numbers. So what we know is that of this $1.4 trillion in buying power that we have, this is where the bulk of it is being dispersed around the country. So the items that you see, the states that you see there in purple, show where the top states are for African American buying power. And spending is highest in the state of Texas. So right now, Texas is leading the way with about $117 billion of spend just for that state. That is followed by New York, that has $115 billion in spend. And I'm going to talk a little bit later about New York because I know you guys are in New Jersey. And so the close proximity actually rolls over into the Jersey area as well. California and Georgia are tied for third place with a $96 billion spend, followed closely by Maryland and Florida, and they each have a $95 billion spend for each state. North Carolina comes in at $62 billion, Illinois at $53 billion, Virginia at $55 billion, and certainly, but not last by any stretch of the imagination, is New Jersey. So Blacks in Jersey are spending about $47 billion, and that's 47 billion reasons you need to covet their business. So this next chart, I've added on just a little bit and built out what those 10 top states look like, as well as what were the states that saw the most or the largest percentage in change in African American buying power. And so you'll see that North Dakota, for example, increased its Black African American spend by 305%, followed by South Dakota that had a 104% increase. Hawaii saw an increase of 95%, Montana an 80% increase, Washington State 66%, Idaho an 86% increase, Wyoming had a whopping 112% increase, and Utah, Arizona, and Colorado all came in about the 60 to 61% range for increasing. Now, if you guys are like me, I didn't even know we had a lot of Black people in some of these states, North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana. But in case you're trying to identify areas to expand your business, this is definitely an area in blue that you should consider. I also know that between the year 2000 and 2018, Black buying power increased by a whopping 114%. That is compared to the 89% increase in white buying power. So you can see we're trending ahead of what white purchasing power looks like. And it is projected to be a whopping $1.8 trillion by 2024. And we're seeing that, again, these numbers, if you're looking at what the populations are, along with the numbers here, you'll see that we're on par to reach this 1.8 trillion with both the blue states and the purple states by 2024. Now, this has a bit of a different spin to the charts that we've seen before, because it takes a look at what the top states are for the African American population. So again, Texas, we saw that it had the largest spend, but there are only 3.7 million Blacks in Texas, which makes up about 13% of that state's population. So you can see that there's quite a large number of dollars being spent for 3.7 million people, and with only 13% of that population. California has 7% of its population, total by state, is African American, but the spend is about 2.78 million there. I'm sorry, 2.78 million people in California who happen to be African American. And so if we take a look at Illinois, New York, Maryland, Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, and Florida, you rarely see, with the exception of Georgia and Maryland, that the population numbers for African Americans in those entire states above the 34-35% ratio. So it means we're actually spending a lot of money with a smaller population. And then if we take a look at where the concentration of African Americans are in these states, what the metro concentrations look like, if we zoom in here on the New Jersey, Newark, New York area, there are about 3.76 million Blacks in the metro area specifically. And what that says is, even though the metro area is crossing over state lines between New York and New Jersey, what this says is that most of the spend that's happening in New York and New Jersey is actually happening in those metro areas. And I don't think that's a surprise, especially considering that we just came out of a very interesting election season. And I call it a season because we're still in it. But it's not surprising that those metro areas are actually showing up highly densely populated by African Americans. So let's take a look at how Blacks make the decision to buy what they buy. It used to be a very linear process when you decided to make a purchase. You perhaps picked up your newspaper and saw an advertisement, you got in your car, you drove to a store. Now that's changed significantly because you could be in the store and see an ad on your cell phone and decide to purchase the item. You could decide that you're going to skip the store altogether and make a purchase directly from your phone or from the comfort of your lounge chair in your basement. So what we know now is that there is a non-linear path to purchase. And so Blacks are not doing making decisions in a very linear way. What they're doing is they're relying on a lot of different resources at the same time. Pre-in-store influencers. So before you go out to make a purchase, this grid shows you what the interaction looks like between roles that influence us to buy what we buy. And the number one way African Americans are deciding to make a decision on what they want to purchase is via recommendations. And you'll see that in the top line here and across the board, all of the blue areas show that recommendations for food over indexes by 61%, for beverages over indexes by 61%, fresh fruits, 55%, frozen foods, 57%, grocery items in general, 87%, health items that you can buy at fast moving stores or consumer packaged goods channels. So that's over-the-counter drugs or any over-the-counter health types of products. We are a little bit, 17% comes from recommendations. And then 45% of personal care, we're over-indexing in that area. So recommendations, if you really want to know how to connect with African Americans, pay attention to what they're saying about your brand. It's really very important for you to give good business in order to receive good business, because recommendations matter to this cohort. The most common ways that people learned about local small businesses in the last 3 months, so during COVID, and again, we did this study in July, and what we found was that posts directly from a business's social media accounts attracted the most business from an audience by 30.4%. So if you don't have a really strong social media, digital presence, it's really time to focus on that area. Likewise, ads on social media. 29, almost 30% of those surveyed said that they found out about your small business by reading those ads. And so if you ever thought that they were a waste of time or money, take a look at these numbers, because they'll show you that it's not. Surprisingly, flyers and mailers are also still really a great way of attracting attention and garnering interest in your business. So don't forget that. And newspapers, community local newspapers, Blacks still read those smaller newspapers. And so consider your local newspapers. Almost 25% of the population said that that's how they found out about a small business during COVID. And then signs with offers in storefronts. I don't know about you, but whenever I go into a local hardware store, I really do peruse the bulletin board there to see if there are any businesses that I may need, whether it's plumbers or whether it is housekeepers or any small business that I think I can use. I look for them at my local store. So where are the consumers? Where should you be tapping into to attract and meet these consumers? One of the spaces is salons and beauty shops, barber shops. Black women spend an average of 2 to 4 hours a week getting our hair done. Now, this is before COVID, but they are attracting about 100,000 individuals every month or so. So it's really important for you to create a buzz in your local barbershop or your salon. Sporting events and festivals like the Essence Festival, churches, social media, and radio and media are still ways that you can connect with consumers. Some of these are more traditional, and some of them are actually non-traditional. When you think about churches, for example, 83% of Black women consider themselves a spiritual person, and 47% of Blacks attend religious services at least once a week, compared to 34% of non-Hispanic whites. Now, again, that was during COVID, before COVID, but once things are back to normal and we're no longer doing all of this virtually, don't forget to tap into any of these opportunities: churches, sporting events, festivals, social media, and radio and media, which we're going to take a look at as well. So social media, we talk about how Blacks love recommendations, and they actually love sharing it on social media. If you take a look at Black adults who are 18 or older and compare them to total adults, what you'll see is Facebook, we're under indexing on Facebook by about 6%. So that means that about 66% of us are using Facebook, compared to 70% of total adults. However, African Americans tend to be much younger than normal. I shouldn't say normal. We tend to be much normal compared to other households. And so that age actually impacts where we show up on social media, which is why Instagram, we over-index by 20% on Instagram. So 54 or 55% of Blacks are on Instagram compared to only 46% of the total population. Pinterest, we over-index by about 2%, and Snapchat, we over-index by about 3%. So again, going back to your digital platforms, if you're not taking advantage of them, now would be a great time to tap into looking into how you can connect with consumers on social media. Black Twitter in particular, I get a lot of questions about Black Twitter. There's no separate Twitter for Black Twitter. It just happens to be a subculture that gives voice to issues that mainstream media don't cover. So we see that 36.6% of Blacks are using Twitter, which is about 11% more than non-Hispanic whites. And what we've seen is that media, whether it's general market, whether it is African-American media, the media actually also relies on Twitter's subcultures as a source of news. Sometimes you'll find things out faster on Twitter than you will on major media platforms. And then the other thing that I think we all know is that when you're on Twitter, engagement doesn't necessarily equal favorability. So someone can be engaged with you, but they may be saying negative things. And we also have seen examples where brands have had issues blow up on Twitter and have had to stop showing commercials, taking products off the shelves. I think the last thing that I saw that kind of hit social media and started on Black Twitter was the pajamas, the Christmas pajamas, and how they represented all the families as a mother, father, children family, except the Black family where they just had the mom and the 2 kids. And social media exploded and the company ended up losing business as a result of that because Blacks said, you know what, we're not going to do business with a company that doesn't acknowledge that Black men do exist in our family. So that's an example of not getting on the bad side of social media. So ensure that what you're doing is always being done in a positive way. So radio and media we saw as a way to connect with African Americans. And there's a good reason for that because radio is still the #1 way, excuse me, of reaching African Americans. It has the highest weekly reach among Black adults at a 92% reach. So that means that 92% of us are tuning into radio on any given week. And that's about on par with the total population. But there's also what I call new school audio, and it's representing too. So new school are some of your streaming platforms like Apple Music, Spotify, and Pandora. Right now, with African Americans 18 and older, Apple Music is really showing the largest trend for Blacks at 48% compared to total adult population at 51%. And then we're tied pretty much in our usage for Spotify at about 22% of us are using Spotify. And then 23% of us are using Pandora compared to the total population where 20% are using Pandora. So in addition to radio, these streaming platforms are also a great way to connect. And where the listening is happening, if we're talking about listening to the radio prior to COVID, most of the listening was happening during the weekday, during drive times, and on weekends. We were in our car. That's where it was happening, in our car. Since COVID, however, you'll see here we're spending a lot less time in our cars. And so that dropped down to only 33% of us were in our cars listening to the radio. A lot of this has been happening during COVID at home. 32% of us are listening at home to radio. 21% of us are listening to the radio on our mobile apps. So iHeartRadio, for example. 19% of us are listening to podcasts, and 25% of us are listening on our computers. So this is all during COVID, and it really just shows and highlights that even though we're not listening in the way that we were before COVID, we are still spending more time with radio. About 1/3 of us are spending more time with radio than we were before. We're just listening to it on different platforms or different devices. Let's talk about the weekly spend on these devices. This chart here actually shows you how much time we're spending across verticals on various devices. And we're spending a lot of time on our devices. I think my assistant added it up, and it looks like we're spending about an average of 16 hours a day, y'all, on our devices, between television and radio and video games and social networking and streaming audio. We're spending a great deal of time there. What we're doing is television is still the bulk of it. So we're spending about 50 hours a week on television. And of those 50 hours, and so we're right here looking at television, of those 50 hours, 42 of them are spent watching live television or time-shifted TV. So time-shifted is when you save the show on your recorder and you come back and you watch it within the next 7 days. And that's what we're calculating into this overall 50-hour time period for just television. 42 of those are live or time-shifted. And then we're spending about 13 hours on our interconnected device with the internet, and 35 hours on our smartphone. 35 hours. I don't know about you, but when they do screen time updates for me, I'm often surprised. Oh my God, I spent that much time yesterday on my phone. Yeah, so with using apps and going to websites, 35 hours a week. Video, about 4 hours a week, about 8 hours a week, a little over 8 hours on social networking, and about an hour and 35 minutes streaming audio. And then we talked about radio, and that falls in at about 13 hours a week on radio. So overall, collectively, that's a lot of hours. The areas where we are over-indexing that you should pay most attention to is video. 41% more of us using video time-wise than total population. And then that's followed by live and time-shifted TV, 29% over-indexing in that area, 28% on television as a whole. And then the other area to focus on is your internet-connected devices. And we're over-indexing by about 26%. This is where you can reach us. We're going to talk about how in a minute, but this answers the question of where can I find African-American consumers? Everything's on the go. So in 2019, we were active using internet on the go with more time spent on those devices that we just talked about, video, audio, and social networking than the general population. And we're doing most of that on our smartphones and our tablets. The coolest of the cool dominate streaming. Hip hop continues to dominate the music scene. When we took a look at what the top musicians were, I believe in 2018, 17 out of the top 25 musicians were rappers. And when it came to songs, 50 out of the top 75 songs were rap music. So most of the revenue that's generated from music is coming from hip hop, 75%. Excuse me. Podcasting categories, we saw a little bit earlier that podcasting really has taken off for African Americans. And one of the reasons that happens is because we can be our authentic selves on podcasting. There's no FCC regulations or rules that can prevent you from saying what you want to say on a podcast. You can hone in and talk about, any topic that you'd like to talk about on a podcast, and people know what that topic is about and they can come to you without being surprised. which is how we look at these top 5 genres of podcast categories that Blacks are tuning into. So comedy is the number 1. We need a relief, and this actually was taken before COVID. News is the number 2 category that we're tuning into. Music, society and culture, and health. Those are the top 5 categories that have us tuning into podcasts. So if you have a product, a service that you can offer, podcasting is a great way to communicate that out. Television, still popular. As I showed, we're spending more time on TV than any other device, and 91% of us can be reached by looking at television on any given week. So, and again, we talked about is live plus time shifted television viewing. So if you have advertising dollars, television is also a great opportunity to reach consumers, a lot of us. TV is still the longest exposure on one platform, and we talked again about spending over 50 hours a week on television. And then when we're talking about where the video streaming services are that we tune into, Netflix, number 1, Netflix. We'll see a few shows a little bit later, but we're tuning in. 39% of Blacks 18 plus are watching Netflix compared to Hulu, which is coming in at about 15%, and Amazon Prime is reaching about 14% of us. So let's talk about what we're watching when we're on these platforms, and let's also take a look at how these platforms are doing in comparison to each other. So here on the left side, we've got the streaming video on demand. So that's the Netflix of the world. And then in the middle column, we have broadcast television. So that's ABC, NBC, Fox. And then we have cable. And so ESPN, BET, VH1. What you'll see is that the numbers of viewers are significantly higher on the streaming video on demand platforms. So the top shows for this platform is Tiger King, Black AF, Ozark, You, Love is Blind, Trials of Gabrielle Fernandez, The Umbrella Academy, Kevin Hart, Don't F This Up, The Stranger, and Lock and Key. These are some really large numbers, you guys, when you take a look at them. And this is, again, just Black viewers, 18 to 49. These are the top shows that the 18 to 49-year-old cohort listened to, watched rather. So you can see we had more than 3 million Blacks tune in to Tiger King. And it goes all the way down to 915,000 who tune in to Lock and Key. So the lowest of this category is still higher than the top category here in the Center for Broadcast Television and how many of us tune into Empire. So Empire had about 788,000 viewers. This Is Us, which is the last in this category for broadcast, came in about 400,000 viewers. So broadcast is still doing well. That's still a significant number of viewers. And then cable television, you'll see, is coming in with some of the lower numbers. So about 262,000 people watch ESPN's Last Dance. 252,000 watched the Sisters series on BET. Love and Hip Hop Atlanta 9 got about 231,000 viewers. And TNI and Tiny Family Hustle came in 10th place with about 175,000 viewers. Don't get me wrong, all of these numbers are large numbers, but we just wanted to show you how disruptive streaming has been to the broadcast and cable industry. Let's take a look at retail. And as you know, Nielsen measures what you watch, what you buy in grocery stores, convenience stores, across convenience stores, grocery stores, I'm drawing a blank. Let me go to my next slide because suddenly I can't remember the names of the channels where we're watching, but I'll get back to it in a minute. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. So again, things that influence us at the point of sale, because remember before we said the recommendations were how we were finding out about products before we went to a store. Once we're in the store, we know that we over-index for coupons for the beverage category by about 30%. So once we're in that store, if you have coupons for us to look at for beverages, we're going to over-index on buying that. We're 26% more likely to be influenced by in-store product informational messages. So that means we're paying attention to what we're looking at as we walk down the aisle and we see some of those coupons pop out at us, or if we have a circular that we pick up at the entrance of the store, we are influenced by those opportunities for informational messages by 26% more than total population. And we're also really heavily influenced by store associates in the general market by about 34%. How people treat us at the store should be no surprise, is really very important to us. And we don't want to be followed around. We want to make sure that we're treated with respect. That's more important to us than it is to the general population. When we look at where we're spending our money with top 5 categories by dollars spent, dish detergent. Dish detergent came in number 1 at $830 million spent. That represents about 14.8% of the total spend for that category. And considering we're only 13% of the US population, and I shouldn't say only because that's about 46 million of us, dish detergent is taking up space. Bottled water, $810 million that we're spending on bottled water. And again, that's about 16% of the total spend on bottled water. We're spending about $762 million on frozen unprepared meat and seafood, refrigerated juices and drinks, about $578 million, and personal soap and bath needs. We're spending $574 million on that category. However, what we're seeing is that it's 19% of the total spend. So hygiene is very important to African Americans. For those of you who may have soaps and lotions and other body products, know that it is an area of importance for the African American. So these are the channels that I couldn't remember before. I'm sorry. This shows where Blacks are actually shopping. And we make more trips to buy grocery and grocery related products than any other consumer group. So we make about 94 trips a year to these channels. And breaking it down, we're making about 74 trips to the grocery store. We're making about 43 trips to superstores. So we're making 42 trips to dollar stores, 20 trips to drugstores every year, and then 15 trips to warehouse club stores. The numbers here in black will show you how this compares to the total population. So dollar stores, for example, you will see that we are going to dollar stores about 33% more than the total population is. And we're going to superstores by about 9% and drugstores by about 8% more. This is why cool matters, because Blacks are a cultural force in the United States. The latest chart-topping hits, fashion trends, dance crazes, and product trends all bear the fingerprints of a culture that is rich, innovative, and constantly tuned into what's now, new, and next. That's a quote from Nydia Serrano over at Pandora, and she made it in 2019. And this is relevant because Blacks are trendsetters, and they tune to us or turn to us to find out what's going on now, what's new, and what's next. And so setting trends for all demographics, 67% of Hispanics and 73% of non-Hispanic whites believe that Blacks are influencing pop culture. When we say something is cool, other demographics follow suit. Things actually tend to start in an African-American community, trends, clothing trends, hairstyles, etc. And then you'll see it trickle and ultimately roll out to general market within the next 3 to 9 months after we launched it. And so people pay attention to what we're buying. So if you can get an influencer buzzing about your product or your service, you're not only going to attract an African-American audience, the chances are you're going to get other demographics to follow suit. I'm paused here. I think I'm frozen. Okay. Influencing and impacting all industries, celebrities are really very important to African Americans. So if you have a chance to use a celebrity, please try to do so, because 55% of African Americans align with the statement. I feel really good about seeing celebrities in the media that share my ethnic background. And this surpasses what the general population, how it feels about celebrities by a whopping 79%. So celebrities are really very important if you can include them. Let's talk about advertising. We look at advertising a little bit differently. We talked about the influences that we had for pre-store, and Blacks agree that 42% more that mobile phones, they want to rely on ads for their mobile phones, 23% more likely to rely on television for ads, 21% more likely to rely on radio, and 18% more likely to say that advertising provides meaningful information on the internet. So we don't just think of ads as a nuisance. Again, it's a way for us to kind of collect information. We disagree with the statement that advertising on mobile phones has no credibility by about 20%. So again, if you have a way to advertise to us on our mobile devices, take advantage of that. And then advertising on cell phones are annoying. We disagree with that by 28% more than the total population. Ads that resonate and why. So a celebrity endorsement may influence me to consider or buy a product. 51% of Blacks agree with that statement. 44% agreed, I love keeping up with celebrity news and gossip. 35% said that when a celebrity designs a product, I'm more likely to buy it. And 33% say I'm influenced by what's hot and what's not. So again, if you can attract even a local celebrity for your local brand, these will tell you why they have an impact on this audience. But the spin with Black media is actually at odds with Blacks' consumption habits and behaviors. So right now, brands are spending about $19.1 billion. I'm sorry, in 2017, they were spending about $19.1 billion. Today, they're spending about $18 billion. And so what we're seeing, however, is that's only 2% of the total spend for African, for all media spent. So while it looks like these are big numbers, when you look at the total amount spent on advertising, this is only a fraction of what's actually being spent. So it's only about 2% of what's actually being spent on media. Given the numbers that I just shared with you on how much time we're spending watching television, listening to radio and podcasts, and all of those media platforms that we just discussed, when you take a look at cable television, digital, national magazines, network TV, spot radio, and syndicated TV, the spend is only still about 2% of what's totally being spent. So there's an opportunity here for corporations to do a little bit better. And I hope that this is also something that you will consider with as part of your advertising or marketing strategy, is to spend with media that's focused on African American audiences. The top 10 advertisers who spent on media focused on African Americans. We did this in 2011 when we first created this report, and we compared it to our 2019 numbers as well. And so what we saw is that there are some brands that have been on the list for the last 10 years, and some have fallen off and gone away. Procter & Gamble has consistently been on the list. Berkshire Hathaway has been on the list. Procter & Gamble has been number one. Berkshire Hathaway in 2019 moved up to second place with about $308 million in spend. So they had an opportunity to boost. Amazon is on the list. AT&T, Pfizer, AbbVie, PepsiCo, Progressive Group, Yummy Brands, and Walt Disney are all brands that were spending a lot of money with African American audiences in 2019. So businesses can do better. How do we do this? Especially given all of the social uprising that we've experienced over the course of 2020. One of the things we can do is listen and understand the needs of your consumer. Make sure you've got some diversity in your employment and leadership. And yes, I think that's even important to say to Black-owned businesses, because sometimes we don't want to hire our own, and that's a problem. And so making sure that we've got diversity in employment and leadership. No harmful ingredients in whatever products you're creating. Ensure that you're reinvesting your funds back into the Black community and support Black causes with your business dollars. 'Tis better to give than receive. And then include products that meet the need. So if you have products that are, for example, considered nude, making sure that they're nude for our skin tones versus nude for non-Hispanic white skin tones. And make sure that you're inclusive of diversity and representation in your advertising, the models that you use for your ads. Be inclusive. Respect your consumers. Number one, respect your consumers. And then acknowledge and call out racism and inequality, and be vocal whenever you have an opportunity to do so. I wanted to show you this slide again in case you didn't have a chance to write down, or in case you joined late, what the actual resource website is that you can go to if you're a small business. And again, I think the Chamber is going to make sure you have access to this, this website as well. But we are offering opportunities and trends and insights that we think will be very, very helpful to your business. And that's the report. I'm Cheryl Grace. You can reach me at Powerful Penny or at IamCherylGrace.com, or you can reach me at Nielsen. But I am going to stop sharing my screen now. I'm not sure if we're doing Q&A, but I will stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Cheryl. There's no Q&A.
So I'm back. You know, I want to just take this moment to thank everyone. 2020 was an unprecedented year. We had the pandemic, We had the murder of George Floyd and many other blacks across the United States. We had a strong response from some of our elected officials about how we can reset society, reset the economy. We had some very encouraging engagement from our corporate sector, many of our members, as well as a host of new members in the year 2020. And through those engagements, through those exchanges, we were able to deliver value. And for some people who never knew about us, they had their perceptions about us, they had some false expectations about us, but nonetheless, it all came together in a very meaningful and impactful way. So we're excited as we close out 2020 and slowly transition into 2021. The election has come and gone, and we'll see what that holds for the future. There's been some local elections that have come and gone, and we have to see how and when, and if we have a different engagement from many of our local elected officials. We must thank our staff, who has done a phenomenal job pivoting from a traditional way of doing business to a more innovative technological approach. I want to thank our board of directors of both the governance board and the foundation board for their continued oversight and commitment to excellence. We cannot conclude this event without thanking our sponsors. The sponsors are small and large, but everyone is important. And this year we received a number of donations, and some of them were anonymous. But nonetheless, the African American Chamber of Commerce is poised and positioned for success, increased success, through our engagement and partnership with the National Black Chamber, the U.S. Chamber, the New Jersey State Chamber of Commerce, the statewide Hispanic Chamber of New Jersey, NJBIA, the Murphy administration, our state, county, and local legislators, our community partners. So there is a village approach to the success of the African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey. For those of you who are not members, we ask that you reach out to us at AACCNJ.com or 609-571-1620. Tune in for our weekly radio show and our Pathway to Success that is aired every first Saturday on NJTV, also on PBS. We just wanted to, again, thank you all. Have an amazing evening. Until the next time, I'm John Harmon. I'm your founder, president, and CEO of the African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey. Thank you.
It's great to see Black Lives Matter on West State Street.
The current environment has gave way to a number of substantial engagements, initiatives, and relationships that will expose Black businesses and Black men and women, as well as communities who have a predominant population of Black and brown people, to new opportunities and resources that will be transformational.
The board of the African American Chamber of Commerce, the board of the New Jersey State Chamber of Commerce, got together and executed a memorandum of understanding to attack racial bias in the business community of New Jersey.
We have a responsibility to our residents to adapt, to overcome, to prosper in these troubled times. And we know that above all, this city cannot unless our communities of color advance. Let me say that here at Trenton,
all lives matter. All Black lives matter. All persons, whether you're in a vulnerable population, a long-term care facility, in the corrections system, pandemic knows no lines.
Nothing is more powerful than an idea whose time has come. And maybe, just maybe, the idea of equity's time has come.
Those of you who've come to witness this historic day, on behalf of the National Action Network, Honorable the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton, we're so happy that you've come as we're here to partner with the African American Chamber of Commerce.
This mural by the African American Chambers was put on in partnership. And so this is what we need to be doing, working together, making sure we are empowered. We want to make sure that even as we put these murals throughout the nation, that we make sure that we have economical stability, that we have health care, we have good education, and we can do away with redlining and all those things throughout America to make sure that we empower our people to have everything that they need.
you know, we find ourselves in the midst of the largest protest movement in our nation's history. By all accounts, millions and millions of people are peacefully demonstrating all across this country since May, demanding for change, asking for deep and meaningful reforms when it comes to policing, when it comes to the criminal justice system, when it comes to so many other systems that are plagued by systemic biases. And I think it's incumbent, as the governor said, not just to respond with symbols, not just to respond with empty words, but through actions. So to all those who are calling for deep and meaningful change, to all those millions of peaceful protesters, I'm here to tell them, we're here to tell them as a state that we hear them and we join in their calls for change.
We are here to stand united against hate. It is about time that the nation and the world wakes up to racial profiling and other discrimination stuff that's happening for so many years and has been overlooked. So for me, as a clergy, as a rabbi, I stand with you, I stand with my brothers and sisters in the African American community to say Black lives matter, all lives matter, we are in this together.
We also know it means nothing if we create a job if we don't have a pipeline to fill those jobs, right? And if we don't get really serious about workforce development in this state and how we go into our urban centers and our capital cities and we do the right programs in order to lift up the skill set of people to ensure that they can walk into Rick Thick Pence AACCNJ and get a job there, right? Then we're not doing our job either.
And so I think we all remain on that long road towards civil rights and social justice and accountability, and erasing that stain of racism. We stay in this fight.
We see this as a reset moment for Blacks, that we must seize this opportunity with vigor and focus. So please join us, the African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey, as we achieve this goal together. That's what this day is all about.
you.